We're going to find out what's happening as I move along. Do you have a final comment for Ralph?
I was just going to say it sounds like a Neil Rogers type on FM morning radio. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Almost.
That's right.
One other quick question, if I can. Linda, I was just wondering what you feel maybe the future in this market looks like. Your feelings towards it.
Well, it's hard for me to say because, like, at this point, everybody's still fragmenting, and right now, like I said, the emphasis is on top 40. The only thing I can predict is more change, basically. I think the tide is going to turn again with music.
Top 40, but who is playing top 40?
Well, top 40 is not what you're close to my age, a little younger, but not really what we remember as maybe growing up with when we were 18 or 16. Top 40 now is predominantly dance music.
Yeah.
And the stations that I was listening to Y100 before Bill came on my way over here tonight, and almost every song was a Black Latin dance hit, specifically for the clubs. It's really changed a lot. Power 96 is doing the same thing, and so is Hot 105. And for example, WEDR, which is a different story. They're a rhythm and blues or a black station, but they were #1 among contemporary stations last time. So that just goes to show. But the tide will change again, depending on what music comes out of the next few years. And in talk radio, I would see at this point most people, and there again, not all, but most people are preferring the type of a shock jock or someone who at least gets their riles up or at least gets them interested, even if it's with serious issues, somebody who at least gets everybody excited. And that's good, I think. It doesn't have to be insulting, it just has to be exciting, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, Ralph, nice talking to you.
Take care.
Take care. That opens a line now in Dade, 7519463. I am Bill Calder. Did I say that Linda Thornton is my guest? I think I did. I mentioned it a lot last night, too. A lot of plugs.
Great.
Is there another talk station going on the air or not?
Not that I know of.
On AM?
Oh, there's a frequency opening up, I believe, on AM, but I don't know that it's another talk station.
I heard a rumor that there was a talk station going on the air that was going to be no calls.
I don't know about that. I've heard a similar rumor,
that's not a joke.
but
I'm serious.
not about no calls.
No calls. Okay, let's go to Jay in Miami. Okay, Jay.
Hey, how you doing, Bill?
Okay,
how
welcome.
You doing, Linda?
Hi.
Bill, my first time caller. I've listened to your show a few times, and I wanted to ask Linda, what do you think will happen with the GTR and Herman and McBean deal?
It's all up to the judge. My guess would be this, and I'm not a lawyer, that possibly the judge has already agreed with an appellate court ruling without trying to get into a lot of legalese. He had no choice but to take them off the air because that's what the court above him told him to do. But there is another hearing coming up, and I would guess that possibly he might give them some sort of penalty, but maybe not 6 months off the air, which is what the opposition originally wanted. I have a feeling that it would be less than that.
I sure as heck don't hope that they come back before the end of the summer because I go to school up in FSU and I'm down here for the summer.
They may go back
loving
on
this
temporarily until this is all settled, but there's a few more court cases or a few more hearings to go before it's really definite. This is something that could drag on for at least a few more months. Hopefully not, but it might.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jay.
I love this market right now with the 3 AR stations. That's always been my main radio.
Yeah.
And back in the 70s, I used to have She and Zeta 4, which now I'm glad to see that 94.9 picked up the call letters.
Yeah.
I don't recall this for sure. Do you recall whether Zeta 4 ever had giant ratings?
I don't recall what their ratings were, but I think that obviously they were better than they are now, but I don't think that they were humongous.
Not humongous.
No.
They had one problem, especially for those of us, which one of the reasons I really like GTR, one is the format, another one is the sound. Those of us who've always liked good sound equipment, old Zeta 4 had very, very poor sound. I guess because they had old equipment or, whatever, but they had poor sound. And I wanted to make one more comment about the morning show, what Ralph was saying earlier.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with him. I switch around the morning shows quite a bit. I like to listen to Sonny Fox, even though I don't like the music on 100, never have. I don't like the format. I never listen to them any other time of the day except
Sonny's
in the morning.
Sonny's a talented guy.
Yeah. And I basically like the crew there. And then, of course, Herman and McBean. I picked up Sonny back from She when he was at She. And
music's not a big factor to most people in the morning anyway, is it? Within reason. I mean, most of the time they're looking for that
most of the
personality.
Time, the personality. It
Yeah.
has, if you hate the music, you're not going to listen.
Well, right. That's why I don't listen to 100. But I'll tell you who I'd like to see in the morning. I have a friend who's in broadcasting, and he gave me a few tapes of the Grease Man.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's a lunatic, man.
Yeah, but they never allow him in this market. They ride him out of town on a rail. Stan Major, look what happened to him after one comment last week. Grease Man says things like that every day. I think he's hysterical. I've heard him.
He's unbelievable, man. He was just, I mean, the energy and, you know, that the guy has is unreal. And I would like to say that I am also indebted to Neil Rogers for getting me into talk radio, too.
Good. Great. Fantastic.
But I like your show a lot, too.
Well, that's okay. Listen, I'll ride on his coattails. I've been doing it for years. All right, take care,
All right,
Jay.
Thanks a lot.
All right, 12:16. Let's go to Robert in Miami. Okay, Robert.
How you doing, Bill?
Real good.
Nice to talk to you again.
Nice to talk to you again.
Oh, great. A breath of fresh air.
You are a breath of fresh air as a caller. Are you another person that decided to listen to me since Neil isn't on late anymore?
Linda.
Yes.
How are you?
Fine.
You're the only reason I search out the Herald on Wednesdays.
Thank you, I guess.
I have a couple questions for you.
Okay, great.
Has Jim Kelly found a job?
You know, actually, I just heard today, and I haven't talked to him, that he's maybe doing weekends on Zeta. I'll check that out.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It'll be good to have him back on the air. I like Jim Kelly a lot.
Yeah, I do, too. I think he's a very good announcer.
Really?
I've never met him, but I think he's good.
He's got a great voice.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, too.
The only guy I don't like over there, you know who that is?
No.
John Moen.
Oh, yeah, I know that story.
Mm.
Maybe we'll get you to tell it again later.
I'm still calling him, but he still won't return my calls. Of course, I'm working now.
Yeah, but what do you need them for?
You want to talk, sir, or you're just going to listen?
That's entirely.
What is the next question? Is it about Leslie Gore?
I don't even want to talk about Leslie Gore.
I just got a Leslie Gore CD, best of.
Are you kidding?
No, it's a great CD. You don't like Leslie Gore?
That's kind of an inside joke.
Okay.
Okay. How's the CD? Pretty good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It has other songs besides the hits. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff she wrote.
I'm not really sure because I never really thought of Leslie Gore as a songwriter, I guess.
Yeah, she wrote a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff, especially the things off of her first album.
Yeah. What else?
When is she going to be coming to town again?
I don't really know, Bill. I do have another question, though.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. Linda.
Yes.
What effect do you think that out-of-town consultants have on FM radio in this city?
Unfortunately, sometimes too much. I think that maybe an FM out-of-town consultant should be somebody who has something to do with the programming from a national viewpoint, and that's fine, which is an aside to the charts that stations look at as well. But I think a lot of mistakes are made when too much reliance is done on surveys from people that aren't even in the market listening, because this is a quite different market, especially when it comes to music.
This is a bizarre
than
town.
in other areas. Yeah.
Well, don't you think that the consultants from out of town sort of homogenize or pasteurize the talent that's here and make everything sound alike?
I don't know about the talent. I think the sound. Out-of-town consultants usually will come in maybe and listen to the music for, they sit here and they monitor for a few days. As far as the talent, yeah, maybe so, because they only listen for a short period of time and then they give their opinions. Yeah. I think that out-of-town consultant is fine, like I said, as an addendum to other sources, but certainly not as a main thing.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more question for you. No, maybe two more questions. Is that okay, Bill?
Sure.
Thanks a lot. Why would Rick Shaw give Neil Rogers more ammunition with that letter that Neil read on the radio yesterday?
Well, I talked to Rick about it today, and I haven't written about it yet, but basically Rick told me that, I don't know, to be honest with you, I think that if I was Rick, I probably would have just ignored it, because if Neil says something cutting about me, I'm not going to call him up and yell at him. That's like you said, adding him. And besides, why bother? I think Rick should have just let it ride, but he told me that he drew the line when it came to the word Nazi, that really bothered him because he felt that in this community that really affected people badly, and he said, let him call me anything he wants but that. But I know it, especially when it gets to the point where you're reading a letter on the air and all that stuff, it gets to be pretty silly.
Yeah, I thought...
Do you think Neil really... And he trashes a lot of people.
Right.
Do you think he really feels that strongly about the people he trashes?
Well, in Rick's case, I think, and he said it today, after he read the letter or whatever was prepared for him to read as an apology, assume it was prepared for him. You're not a Nazi, but I still think that you're a terrible announcer. You know, and that's his right to say that. And I'm not saying, I'm sure he didn't really think that Rick is a member of the Communist Party. I mean, I don't think that he meant it in that way.
Yeah.
It happened to be where Rick drew the line. So, you know, he said his attorney told him it's fine to do something like that. But I agree that maybe a letter, especially when it's something about an apology being read on the air, it often is...
It can work against you.
It can reverse. It can
just
make
gives
it look
him more
bad.
ammunition.
Well, I think I listened today, and it just seemed like Neil made a fool out of Rick.
Well, you know, it was Neil's show, and he had something to read and something to say afterward. That's the problem, you know.
Yeah.
Without Rick there on the phone or something, it can only be what Neil had to say. And sure, I don't know whether... I'm sure Rick thought of that.
I don't know. I don't think he did. I think if he would have sat down and thought about it, he wouldn't have had him write the letter.
Maybe not.
I have another question, and it's kind of a serious question.
This your last one?
Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
It's kind of a serious one, though.
And why are you chuckling over that?
I don't know. That's the way you affect me, Bill. There's been a lot of, in the last couple of years, a lot of things been flying back and forth across radio stations about sexual orientation of different hosts. And I was wondering, in your talking with somebody, some people who are in the business or who have friends in the business like I do, know the story about a lot of people. And I was wondering if these people who have been made fun of or, you know, in a roundabout way have ever said anything to you about it or complained to you.
You mean radio gays?
Right.
Oh. No, nobody said anything to me about that.
Yeah.
I think the people who've come out and said it have no qualms about it, and those who haven't still think that it's something personal, and they don't talk about it on the air, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody said that to me, that has bothered them.
Okay.
Does it bother you, sir?
That didn't bother me at all.
Okay.
Just wondered.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of talk about it, and I just wondered if anybody had said anything to Linda.
No, not really that I can remember.
Okay.
Okay. Good call, sir.
Hey, thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you.
You're a breath of fresh air.
Another time capsule program.
No question about it.
See you later.
All right, we're going to take... This time is going by too fast. That opens the line of day. It's 7. Well, it's gone. All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Bill Haber, the inventor of Easy Quit. I recently started speaking on radio all over America.
Any comments on Joe Zagacki? Well, as long as we're talking about radio, he is on the radio now. Did you notice a little more energy there?
I guess so.
Okay, let's go. Let's go to Jack in Boca.
I appreciate that, Bill. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for the
I'm a
kind...
novice in talk radio because I'm...
Well, we're talking about any kind of radio you want to talk about.
Well, no, I've just got into this the last couple of days because I came back to town. And I guess I have to use a business question.
Sure.
Do you have constant kind of evaluation, appraisal, and counseling? Do you know from day to day how things are going?
No.
May I use Sandy as an example?
What was that again?
May I use Sandy as an example?
Well, it's... I don't know how she'd feel about it.
Well,
it's okay with me.
I'll give you an example. Lots of times, Sandy has people on, astrologists, diet people. She has people calling in saying they were born 6:30 on the December 3rd, and, you know, I really don't care about that. But on the other hand...
About what?
Well, what's going to happen to them, those people...
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
But on the other hand, she has fascinating guests and intriguing programs. Does anyone say maybe you're leaning too far one way or the other?
Oh, no. You're talking about having someone, like, standing over your shoulder, censoring what you say, or else...
No, not censoring,
talking
but
about
measuring, but evaluating. And, Linda, your guests should know things like that.
I was going to say, is if you get guidance, and sometimes that would be better than to get the shock after 6 months. Hey, we don't like what you've been doing. Goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
If they sat down with you once every 2 weeks and went it over with you, depending on who it was, if it was somebody that you could take their advice, that would know what they're talking about, that might be, that at least you know where you were.
Yeah, I don't...
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
those ratings, if there were ratings that period of time, there were all kinds of people lined up because I want to know what happened to me because I was born at 5:38, and nobody else cares. Or my right toe is fall in, and what kind of vitamins should I take?
Actually, I have found, I don't know whether I'm 100% right on this, but I have found that most of the time when people are, when their contract isn't renewed or when they're moved out or moved up or moved around or whatever, it usually doesn't have anything to do with the kind of show that they do. Most of the time, they get hired for the type of show they do, and management pretty much expects them to do that kind of a show. Usually, what happens is that after a certain period of time, they decide they don't like that kind of a show.
After all.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I'd agree with you that...
But if they listen one day...
Unless I'm missing a point here.
No, I think I'd agree with the caller that the nutrition shows are for, the pits.
One day, if you happen to take a survey, there's all kinds of people lined up on the phone, but they want to know about their pet's ailment.
Yeah.
And nobody else cares.
I agree with
that. That's the problem with shows like that, and the shopping show that you had here for a while. I mean, people are going to call, but nobody's going to listen because they don't care about that person.
That's right.
That could be something that everybody can relate to.
Discussing a very provocative subject, and they're listening, and they can care. How do you measure that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Jack. Okay, let's go to John in Fort Lauderdale. John, are you there?
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to 610 WIOD, and say hello to my guest, Linda Thornton, radio writer for the Miami Herald.
Good evening, Linda.
Good evening.
I have a couple of questions. Do you bunch the AM and the FM Arbitron ratings together as far as market share?
When I write about the Arbitron?
Well, is that how they do it as far as the Arbitron?
They list any station that signal is picked up, and that's while you brought that up, I wanted to say something. Sometimes you see not in my articles, but in some other articles made by somebody who's not a radio or TV writer, that a station, because they're a public station or they're not a commercial station, is not in the Arbitron. That's not true. Any station that signal is received here is rated in the Arbitron.
How does Mike Ranieri fit in? I like him very much in the morning.
Mike Ranieri does very well for the station. Generally, aside from sports, he's been their strongest numbers.
Is he competitive with FM stations, or is that an older crowd he's dealing with? I like him very much.
He's competitive with FM stations, especially early in the morning, I would say. I don't have my hour by hours in front of me, but yes, he is.
How does TalkNet fare? I don't particularly care for them, but that's the only thing that that station seems to deal with at nighttime.
TalkNet did real well up during the midnight hour, which I think would be Sally at that time. Sally Jesse Raphael, if I remember correctly, she had like a 12.4% share from midnight to 1, and that's amazing.
Amazing some of this.
Jerry Wichner kind of does better than the syndicated shows over at NWS during the earlier evening.
And last but not least, this is for Bill here. What happened to Larry King? I've been away for a few months, and I like Larry much. I like Bill very much too. But what happened to Larry? Was it more profitable to go with Bill?
More profitable?
Yes, as far as maybe the King's syndication was expensive, or
no,
it wasn't coming up with the proper numbers, or what?
I don't think King cost him anything.
I think King was pretty cheap, actually.
Free.
He just wasn't. Because I like Larry King very much. I like you too, but I was just.
Oh no, I think the reason for the change, frankly, was that they wanted local programming.
Right. They brought Bill in from 11 to 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much for the call. Okay, it's 12:31, 610 WID. I can't believe we have not had any women. The men have just... All right, I have an opening in Broward. Let's get a woman in there. 524-9463. I'll move the woman. The next woman goes right to the head of the line. Let's go to Phil in Hollywood. Phil.
Hello there. Good column.
You have a lot of sex appeal, Linda. You know that.
We've got some good voices here.
Well, what can you say? The woman has charm.
She does.
Thank you.
She exudes it in the paper and it's neat to live in a city where they actually do report on the radio and the newspaper.
Well, 10 years ago, it wasn't like that.
No, and I'm thank the Herald for that, because when I started there, I was just general entertainment writer, and I did a little bit of radio, but eventually they let me develop it into a column, and now when something happens, I can say, hey, we got to write about this tomorrow, and usually I get my way.
That's
I've lived in a lot of big towns. This is the first one that pays any real attention to the radio, and sometimes the TV, like Tom Shales in D.C.
Yeah.
But, around here, it's nice. But it really is a brutal business. There's no getting around that. And having worked with the Grease Man up in Jacksonville on the radio, I can vouch for the fact that he would never make it more than about a week here.
What did you do for him up there?
I followed him on the air.
You were on? Yeah, you sound like a broadcaster.
Yeah, I may have been one of the people mentioned in your column today.
Really?
I may have been.
Oh, what's your last name?
Magic.
Oh, Beckman. I didn't recognize your voice. That's funny.
Yeah. I was the guy who turned down a good job offer in California to come here because, well, first of all, I wanted to come here, so I have only myself to blame, and second of all, because I innocently thought I was in for a long ride.
This is the just recently former morning DJ on Magic.
Yeah.
From Atlanta.
Right.
Yeah.
Last stop, at least.
Yeah, the most recent last one.
Right.
Did you buy a house?
Yeah, did you?
No, I didn't buy a house, but I did get everything unpacked and put away, and I've signed a lease and all that kind of stuff. And 10 weeks in one place is not enough to.
How's the job prospect going?
Well, I've spoken with most of the people that run most of the decent stations around here, and have gotten a lot of tea and sympathy, but no real offers yet, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's going to be very, very hard for me to get another morning gig, but at this point in time, sweeping out or filing records or something like that might be a good alternative.
No, you don't have to go that far.
I really don't want to leave South Florida. I like it here.
You know what the secret is? I learned a long time ago. I'm sure you did too, and that is anything is better than being on the beach, because every day is like a year, and in 5 days you've been gone 5 years. Nobody remembers you.
And especially not to alarm Phil, but he was only here for a short time, so it would be good for him to get something soon.
Quickly,
so his
anything.
name can stay on the...
Anything.
I certainly won't argue with that.
Yeah.
And any of you program directors listening out there.
A plug for Phil.
Yeah, well, what can I say? I'll tell you one thing. Another thing about this area that I like, this is a good self-serving program here, is the talk radio around here is very good, very competitive, and unlike anywhere else that I've lived to.
Mm-hmm. What's it like in Atlanta?
Oh, it's boring. You have a couple of good old boys on there talking about what it was like in the 40s on WSB, and then there's WGST, which attempts to be a news talk station, but they're mostly news. As far as the kind of stuff we have down here on the three stations, it's you don't even have one station to compare us with those stations up there. It's much more. I never was a talk radio fan till I came to this town, and then between the fact that a person that I used to work for is on NWS as a talk host, and then listening to Neil Rogers and then listening to Mr. Calder here, and it's a festival. It really is. It's great.
Great. Wow. Listen, you can talk as long as you want now.
Yeah, I used to work for Lee Fowler back when he was a rock and roll program director. And this was a long time ago.
Now he's a rock and roll talk.
Yeah.
Program director.
Exactly.
It's hard to imagine Lee Fowler as a rock and roll program director.
Well, sometime I'll have to give you a tape of how he sounded as a rock and roll jockey.
I'd love that. You promise?
It's pretty wild.
Okay.
I'll put it on cart and play it.
Okay, all right.
No, he'd probably sue me. Everybody's suing everybody today.
That would make you say, yeah, that's the American way. Litigation is the American way.
Exactly.
Phil, you don't have a non-compete, do you?
Well, I did, but I was told that they would not honor it because of the fact, I guess it was a short period of time, and because they fired me and I didn't leave.
Well, that's good.
I don't think a no-compete is good if you get fired.
No, I don't think so, especially not such a short period of time.
With Don Agony and Kathy Cruz, they had a 1 month period, I believe.
Yeah. Well, that
they had to wait, but they were on the air 1 month.
Well, I specifically asked them were they going to hold me to it, and Jerry Sullivan said no, so we'll go with that.
If he said no, you can...
Yeah, Jerry's a nice guy.
Yeah,
I think. You might have a different opinion.
Well, I'm a little bit, I guess, amazed that someone has to work with, no offense against Jerry or anybody else, but there are some people in the business who seem to only want to work with those that they've worked with in the past. They don't want to seem to give somebody else a chance at something, and it seems to be the case at a certain station here in town. They really are getting to be like another certain station that was once in town.
Yeah.
I'm just saying being so vague without being vague at all.
Boy, you're going too fast for me.
He means that Jerry's hired 2 A1A and 1 IOD person over there since he's been there. And Jerry said that he hires the people that he knows that are available and that are good, and I guess there's, really two sides to that. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I can't fault him for that because I'm sure he feels very comfortable working with those that he's worked with before. But what the heck, it's not doing me any good.
Hey, listen, good luck to you, Phil.
Thanks a lot.
I really mean it.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, keep up the good work.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, it's 12:37, and believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, here on 610 WIOD, we have a female.
Really?
How did you ever do it?
Well, you were begging for a female.
I'm begging. I just, I can't believe it. I put you right to the front.
Well, I even called in on the Broward line, even though I live in Days.
Good.
Oh, that's dedicated.
First of all, I would tell Phil that Jerry Sullivan, yes, is indeed a nice guy, but I would get it in writing that they're going to let him out of that non-compete clause. Don't trust anybody in this business.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think probably if that was the case, that's what's going to happen, because they did only have him there for about 8 or 10 weeks.
Yeah.
But it certainly is a good philosophy to follow any place. If you can get out of not signing a non-compete in the first place, that'd be your best bet.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
I know.
Seems to be such a volatile business.
Well,
more so than I disagree with that man who talked to you earlier about it's that way in every business. I mean, profit and loss and productivity and all of that, but the broadcasting business, just in light of what's been happening the last several months in this market, is incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It's a lot more visible, though. I think there's a lot of things go on in other businesses. We just don't read about it. That's all. We don't hear about it.
That's true. This is the public eye. It's a dog-eat-dog business, that's for sure.
Well, I'm disappointed I haven't heard any really juicy stuff tonight.
What?
I haven't heard any really juicy stories that I haven't heard before.
Yeah, I guess the juiciest story as far as new things would be the Mike Miller and the Sandy Payton news.
Mm-hmm.
And besides that, the last thing that was juicy was the Herman and McBean story, and it's funny because this week just seems to be the week for legal things that are happening.
Yeah. I'm real curious about how Herman and McBean are going to be able to appear on Stan Major's show tomorrow.
I don't know. Apparently that's not going to be a problem. They've spoken to their attorney, and I would be pretty sure that they're going to have him with them. I'm going to be, if I can get a plug-in, guest hosting Neil Rogers' show on the 30th. And they were originally going to appear with me, and then there was some question as to whether they would or not. And now that they're going to be on Major tomorrow, maybe they won't. But they said that was no problem with their attorney. I don't know. It's funny.
Well, and
I'm going to call you up while you're doing that show. I'm going to be a cranker.
Be a crank caller? I always wanted to be a crank.
I'm going to call myself Cupcake.
Well, Bill, I enjoy your show, and I'm
Thanks
glad
a lot.
Linda was on it tonight. I've listened to the whole thing. It's past my bedtime, but I wanted to hear.
You sound like you're falling asleep.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay,
I appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
It's 12:40. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back and visit some more with Linda, take some more calls, and she wanted some more juicy stuff. What did she want? Yes. They're coming to take me away.
Yeah,
she wanted more juicy. What do you want, Chris?
You should get her back and see what she wants.
She wants me to quit tonight on the air.
Personal stuff.
Oh, personal stuff. Okay.
Nah.
We don't have any.
Nah.
We're both happy people. Okay, well, so far. We'll be right back. Okay, it's 12:42 at 610 WIOD. Let's go to Will in Dade.
Hello, Bill.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a first-time caller.
Okay.
I was going to call you the other night when some guy, Steve, was on complaining about cigarette smokers, and I had a humorous story. But I heard you were going to have Linda on there. And, Linda, are you the same one that wrote for the Islander News?
No, as a matter of fact, that's a funny thing. I heard that there's a girl named Linda Thornton writing for the Islander News, it's a Key Biscayne paper. And I heard it so many times, I finally called her up the other day, and she sounded very surprised to hear from me.
Well, the reason when I heard Linda Thornton was going to be on there, I thought, well, maybe it was her. She did an article about me when I was working at one of the places over on Planet Ocean.
Yeah. No, we got a kick out of that. But, I can't tell her to change her name. So, yeah.
Hey, incidentally, though I haven't been insomniac, and I do most of the writing at around this hour of the morning, and good show. Even some of the squirrels, I guess, like me, that are on there, and make it interesting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Now.
Thanks.
Somebody called and asked if you think we'll ever have a real oldies station.
I'd love to have a real oldies station, a good one on FM that had some exciting personalities, maybe with the feel from the era. It hasn't worked here so far. I mean, the ones we've had haven't
really done that well.
Signals, and no, they haven't. BSS changed, 98 Gold changed, even though you could hardly hear them anyway.
Well, that's the one I heard was going talk.
That's possible. If that may be the case, I'm not sure about that, because they switched format to a canned heart and soul, like black rhythm. It's pretty good. I can hardly pick them up. It's a Motown type.
Well, that's
60s.
what I heard, that they were going to do some kind of talk.
I know that they're changing format. That might be it. I'm going to check it out.
I don't know. That's what I heard.
I'll check it out.
Okay. Let's go to Chester. Chester.
Yeah, Bill, how are you tonight, buddy?
Real good.
Good morning, Linda.
Hello.
I can't see to read your articles, but I imagine they sound terrific. But anyway,
Okay.
About talk radio, they seem to have more talk radio in the southeastern states than they do the northern states.
You mean like Maine and Vermont?
Right. West Virginia, Virginia. I wonder why that is.
Idaho? There's not much talk in Idaho?
Yeah, I guess not. I think there's more talk in metropolitan markets generally than there is in smaller rural areas.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, sure. There's more to talk about.
Okay, good question.
Well, you're talking about ratings. How many people listens to a person talking, like a talk host?
Yeah.
Why is it that they feel that if a talk host is doing very good, why is it they want to take that person and switch them to somebody else?
Because sometimes if their best talent is at a time of the day when the least people are listening, that's not very smart, and they'll put that person on at a time of the day where they feel that they can draw more listeners.
Yeah, but don't you think if they have a contract with that station, should they stay on till the contract is out?
Usually the times... I don't know yet.
Mike Miller?
Yes.
I don't know. I was hoping Mike would call tonight so we could ask him.
Or maybe he's asleep.
Maybe
But anyway, Bill...
He's had a hard day.
Anyway, Bill...
He's had a hard day, that's right. What is it?
Have a good night. Keep up the good work. And Linda...
Yes?
you keep up the good work, too.
Thank you, Chester. Let's go to Mike in Miami. Hello, Mike.
Yes, how you doing?
Real good.
Yeah, these shows are like Neil has with Tom Jicken, and yours is a real good show.
Thanks.
Do you cover Spanish radio at all?
I cover it to the best that I can. I have a little problem with writing too much about it objectively because I don't understand. I do understand just a bit of the language, but it's not enough.
Do you cover any of the talk formats?
Basically, what I'll cover is changes at the station, format change. The things that are pretty much obvious that I can talk to the people there and get it translated for me. I don't do critiques on the subjects that they cover because I can't understand the conversations, if you know what I mean.
Well, but politically, what would you say their talk formats are?
Well, it varies from station to station, but I think that most of the Spanish stations would agree that a lot of their politics has to do with Cuba and has to do with Fidel and communism because that's something that they are very closely concerned with.
Very conservative, one-sided.
That's my opinion. That's not theirs.
Yeah, but you don't think you get too much caught. Do you think that's a problem?
I don't think that... I think it might be a problem, but I think that basically, there again, the stations are serving their audience. Now, that's not a station that probably would be of interest to me because I'm more interested in hearing about things that are happening in the United States.
How would you describe the political philosophy of talk shows in the Anglo area?
I think it varies from host to host.
Well, I mean, generally, do you think it's liberal, conservative, or mixed?
I think that it's mixed because some hosts here are very liberal and others are conservative. We don't have anybody who is strongly conservative right now. Except
who's conservative recently?
David Gold. But I think part of it was, if I'm not mistaken, that he didn't have a contract. A lot of the people who were held over to NWS was mainly because they had contracts at the time.
Okay, let's go our next call now. Let's go to Hartford, Connecticut. Hello.
First of all, you guys forgot Mike Thompson, who's the most conservative on the air in this market. And,
yeah, he's here. He's part-time. I guess that's why we haven't brought him up, or the listeners haven't.
I'm always at the track when he's on.
That's true. But the other thing is, you want to know what the problem is? The guy was right in one way, and that is that he kept saying that it's only liberals who call liberals. The conservatives are afraid to challenge the liberals who are on the air. They're waiting for someone that they can be simpatico with, but they refuse to call up because they don't want to challenge. They want someone who's going to... They seek to the entire program. I would never promote my audience to listen to a show that I wouldn't listen to myself.
Did you promote this show?
Oh, all day today.
I thought you had other things to do.
I didn't know who you were at first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Linda. How are you?
That's all right. Bill wrote it on his pink pad.
See, I didn't want to call in because the last time that I interrupted a program between you and Bill, Linda, I was criticized the following morning by a host who said I was muscling in on Calder's time.
Yeah, I heard that.
So and I felt very badly about that. So I was staying away, but just listening very patiently.
No, we wanted you to call in tonight.
Well, thank you. That's good.
How you doing?
What are your plans, Mike?
Immediate, I don't know. The station has let me know that if I want to speak with stations outside the Miami market, I'm free to do so, and that they would not enforce, the no-compete clause.
Good.
And I've asked, well, what about stations within? And so far I'm waiting for a response from that. I assume that when Bob Rich gets back to town and that question is raised, then I'll get a definitive.
Well, we've been talking a lot about that tonight. Now, I have to ask a silly question.
Yeah.
You have a no-compete, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But is that in addition, is that tacked on to the end of the contract?
No, because the way the station has indicated it to me is that they already have told me they're not planning to renew my contract.
Right.
So once they have determined that they don't plan to renew it, I am free to negotiate with anybody I want, inside or outside the market. The point is that
that's kind of contradictory to what you said a second ago.
No, it isn't. Hear me out. What they're saying is that if I should get an offer from a Hartford, Connecticut, or a West Palm Beach, or an Orlando, or a Tampa, or anywhere else, they will let me out of my contract now.
I see.
I could start on July 2nd if I wanted to.
I got you.
And stop paying you, too.
Pardon me?
And stop paying you, obviously.
There would be a settlement.
Okay.
There would be a settlement that they've already offered.
But what if you get a job locally and it starts on October the 1st? Or November the 1st?
Runs until November 27th.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, if somebody called me and said, listen, Mike, we want you, but we want you for the fall book, which, as we all know, begins sometime in the first part of October, then I would have to go back to the station and say, hey, what can we work out amicably here?
Right.
Or try to. But then, of course, I mean, there are a lot of other things that are going on, and obviously there's some things that I don't think this would be an appropriate forum to talk about. But that one issue about...
Wait a minute. Are you saying your wife is pregnant?
No. Thank the good Lord that he held off on that. Thank you very much.
See, I have to inject that levity.
You also wanted to make sure that we were talking about now one of the... how did you put it before, Linda? The something gaze?
Oh, radio gaze.
Radio gaze.
Well, that's the takeoff on the Woody Allen movie.
Yeah, righto.
Okay.
So I'm glad you clarified that, Bill, in case there are any doubters out there.
Hey, listen, I did it just for,
Mike, are you going to be able to discuss any issues, or you think it's going to be just talking about this whole thing for the next 2 weeks?
I'll say, I hope that I can get these issues. I've got a good show tomorrow. The parents of Benjamin Linder, the kid who got killed in Nicaragua, are coming out for the first part of the program. And I've got guests for a lot of the other shows, or I've got issues that I already want to raise. And we're going to see how it goes. I assume that when we get into open lines, I'm sure we'll get a few more people who will want to call in and applaud. But other than that, I'm hoping that I can continue as usual, because if not, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, it would be very good for the station or for me. I mean, today, listen, let me tell you something. Today was the greatest ego boost I've ever had on the air.
Yeah.
Obviously. And those were my diehard fans, and as many as there may be, how many? It was gratifying to get. It was a very difficult day for me, and I was not told of this today, so obviously it was even more difficult in other ways. But no, it was very gratifying to hear the support that I got today, and the people who called, a few people who called tonight too. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an interesting night, hasn't it?
It has been an interesting night, and I've enjoyed all the talk about all the jocks in town. I really felt real badly for Phil, who called in.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, I'm sitting here saying, okay, I've been here for a year and a half, and, it has been rocky, Bill, as both you and I know. And that's something else. If you don't mind, let me just take a half a second. I know we're running up to news, but I want people to know this, that obviously there was a lot of transfer back and forth between your hours and my hours, and then my hours to your hours, and your hours to my hours.
Right.
And I think that there was some perception in the community, both in the professional as well as in the civilian community out there, who thought there may have been some animosity between the two of us because of the shift changes. And I think it's only fair to point out to everyone out there, civilian and soldier alike, that neither of us had anything to do with any of those shift changes. Those decisions are made behind closed doors among front office people who have reasons of their own for whatever the decision they want to make. And that you and I have kept our friendship going just as strongly, no matter if I were working at night and you were in the day, or I was in the day and you were at night. So
yeah, well, a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think that it works differently. But anyway, I'm glad you said that. That's nice. And we'll talk to you.
Yeah, right. This has been a great
Yeah.
show. It was nice listening to you,
Thanks,
too.
Mike. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, I hope so.
Okay, Kim.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay, that's Mike Miller, and that's what a way to end up the show, huh? Perfect. Now, I have to put up with 2 hours now after you leave. You know that. Why didn't you ask her this? Why didn't you ask her that? But you'll come back again, right?
Yeah, sure. Went fast.
I like to have you on. You're good.
Thank you.
Linda Thornton is the radio writer for the Miami Herald, and I would suggest you catch her column tomorrow. Will it be in the column, or will it be in the regionals?
Short story on the TV radio page.
On the TV radio page?
Right.
Okay. And if we get it, Mike? Is she leaving? Yes. 11 to 1. Well, that's what I booked her for. I keep my word. I don't like some hosts say you want to stay another 10 minutes. All right, thank you, and we'll do it again soon.
Okay.
In fact, we ought to do this every time there's something going on.
Every time something happens.
You'll be on every Tuesday. All right, stay tuned for the news. Thank you so much, Linda, and we'll be talking about you after you leave.
Oh.
Stay tuned for the news, right? Is that what I'm supposed to say? Almost forgot. Let's keep talking about radio. You want to do that? Okay, I do. I like to talk about radio because radio is my life.
To get in touch, dial 751-WIOD in Dade, 524-WIOD in Broward, or 655 and 278-WIOD in the Palm Beaches. Other areas can always call collect. Now, here's Bill Calder.
Okay, well, she's a lot of fun. And, you know, I'll tell you something. As much fun as it is having Linda on the show, it's also not ever completely comfortable. Now, I'll tell you what. And she's as nice as you want to be, but she's also nobody's fool. She's no dummy. And, in fact, I noticed tonight, every time I see her, she seems to become more and more, what's the word, aware, or, you know, it's like she's no dummy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And people have a very strange way of dealing with people like Linda Thornton, who are in the media, in the press. And you can only go so far, but you have to be careful because you're kind of defensive because you don't want to come off like, gee, I want her to write something about me, or I want her to write something good versus something bad. You know what I'm saying? You're always aware of that. Not that there's anything to write about, but you're always like on guard. With me, I don't want to make a good impression with her or a bad impression. I want and can't to make her feel that Bill has me on his show because he likes me and wants to talk to me, period. You know what I'm saying? I hope so. It's kind of complicated. And that little, it's always there. You know, it's like having, when I had Mike Gonzalez on and Victor Molina, the two jockeys, I never wanted them to think that down inside I wanted them to tell me about a horse they were going to ride that they thought had a good chance of winning. You follow me? I don't want to know. Well, that's really the most complicated, dumbest thing I've ever said, but I hope that it makes sense. That it's not easy. Let's face it. But she's a good writer too. She gets better all the time, and there'll be a story in her column tomorrow about us. We're the hot topic now. IOD is hot stuff because nobody knows what's going to happen. We still don't know. Anyway, here are the baseball scores. Cubs 5, Philadelphia 3, San Diego 8-7 over the Dodgers. Atlanta 1, they beat San Francisco 6-1. Montreal beat the Mets 9-1. Cincinnati beat Houston 9-1. Pittsburgh over St. Louis 4-1. I can't believe that. Detroit beat Toronto 3-2, and the Yankees pick up a game, as does Milwaukee. They both won. Milwaukee beat Minnesota 8-5, and a game heard here on 610 WIOD. Yankees 4, Baltimore 3. And Seattle beat the White Sox 2-0. Boston 4, Cleveland 0. Kansas City 10-5 over Oakland. California 6-1 over Texas in the top of the 7th. That's the only game that is not complete. As far as the weather goes, it's a repeat of yesterday, so what else can I tell you? It was hot. Very, very hot. I am Bill Calder. It's 9 minutes after 1. If you've been trying to get on and talk to Linda, I'm sorry that we didn't have more time, but I thought we got quite a few calls, and we did have some interesting conversation, I think. Nothing real juicy, but interesting. I don't want to get too juicy. What is there to talk about that's real juicy? I don't have anything that's real juicy. And what else? That's about it. That's about it. So the numbers, what do we have? We've got a lot of folks on hold, and we have one opening in Broward, 524-9463. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines are full, 4 names on the board. Doesn't make sense to me. You're blocking one line? Okay. Even Mike Miller called in. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. What else? And we're open in Boca, 278-9463. I have an hour and 50 minutes left, and I'd love to spend it with you. Let's talk about radio. I know everything about radio. I know the real truth about radio. Anything you want to know. It's a fun thing to talk about because it's what I do for a living. But I think, and people are interested in it too, because they listen to these people. And I've always felt it. Your ground, you're more sure of your ground as time goes by, then all of a sudden, then you're home free.
Well, as sure of this ground as anybody can be, let's say.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, I think that a lot of people, and I hope you take it the way I'm in it, I think a lot of people love to have you or Tom Jicka on. It gives them an opportunity to say things that they normally don't have the opportunity to say, you know.
That's true.
What do you think about so-and-so? Well, I think he stinks, and it's like it's kind of like a personal trip to boot, and I'm not going to do that tonight.
You're going to have to.
I mean, I'm not that type of guy. I mean, I love everybody.
You had perfect timing in having me on tonight.
I know. It was great, and I want to thank WIOD for...
Definitely. They did everything so I could talk about it tonight.
It was just incredible. Well, first of all, how are you?
I'm fine.
You look sensational.
Well, thank you.
And the last time I saw Linda was at Bayside. The time before that, I saw her in court.
That's right.
You covered my Herman and McBean trial.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything is happening. Now, I hear Herman and McBean are going to be on with Stan Major tomorrow. Is that true?
Yeah, I just heard that, as a matter of fact.
I can't believe that.
I bet their lawyer will be there with them. I'm sure of it.
I would think so. Everybody's guesting with everybody. I heard Steve Kane with Craig Worthing.
Yeah,
but I guess he still works there, so...
I don't know. For some reason, I didn't think he'd be able to do that.
And then he was on with Neil Rogers.
Yeah, he was.
That was and now he's in Italy, and I understand he's having an ego transplant, and he'll be back in time to begin his new job in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
So what else is new? How are you?
I'm fine.
What's new in your life, first of all? Let's not just get into this radio business. I mean, how are you personally?
I feel great.
Is the pressure of the job, are you getting armed by people?
Well, sometimes a week will go by and it's nice and smooth and nothing happens, and I think I'll take a day off, and then, the next morning the phone starts ringing and
I know.
1,000 things happen the same day.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
You like it, though, don't you?
It's fun, yeah. It is.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of things happening in town. The market is in total disarray. Would you agree?
Well, I think it's getting more so. It's always been that way, that we look back 5 years at least, and in the last 5 years, there's always something changing. I don't know that it's that much different. It's just we're thinking about the things that happened today and with Herman and McBean last week, and yeah, it's a hip-hop place.
Yeah, it is. That was a great column you did on Magic.
Magic. Yeah, one of my personal favorite stations just for what I like to listen to, but what a joke it's getting to be with the DJs. And I know Jerry Sullivan is in there now trying to stabilize it, and I hope he does. Like I said about IOD here, how many months ago?
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank Jerry for stabilizing my life, too.
By leaving?
No, not.
By hiring you, actually.
By hiring me, yes. And we've had Stan the Music Man has got a lot of press lately with his...
most press he's ever gotten.
The what?
I said the most press he's ever gotten, with a nice little argument with Jack McDermott.
It was great.
It was funny. Made for a great story.
Well, you know what they say. If you can't beat them, fire them. Anyway, see, I got to take a little shot here and there. And what else is happening? Herman and McBean, of course, is a big story. Magic, lots of changes going on there.
Yeah, always.
And Sonny Fox coming up in the ratings.
Yeah, the Y100's picking up again.
Right. Did you notice the April arbitrends?
No, I didn't.
Well,
I
you ought
heard
to look
about
at those.
the trends,
yes. Well, I happen to have had a good April, my last month on the day. Nobody would tell me about it. I had to hear it from other sources.
Well.
I just want to throw it out, that's all. So what do you think about everything that's going on? Any comments? Now, what about the big story here? I guess we can't play with these people's emotions here.
Well, I'll tell you what I wrote that's going to be appearing tomorrow in the paper. I tried to bring by an early edition, and I couldn't pick one up around here anywhere. Basically, I wrote that, well, first of all, we all knew that somebody here was going to get the old axe, if I can say that, and then I will qualify it for those who won't call it that, when Steve Kane came in. I mean, there's only 7 days in a week. Somebody had to go.
Not necessarily.
Unless you doubled up or shortened shifts.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this afternoon, I guess it was about 4 o'clock, Mike Miller announced on the air that he has been informed that as of June 30th, his services on the air will no longer be needed. Management here is saying it is not a firing because he's going to be receiving full pay for now until his contract runs out, which is nice. That's good. You know, he's not out in the cold.
Right.
But for all intents and purposes, you know, he's been canned. The other thing that I thought was very interesting that I finally found out about today is that apparently management asked Sandy Payton to double up with Mike Ranieri on the morning show, not just the 1 hour that they do together, but to work together from, 5:30 till 10. And Sandy feels that while she enjoys being on the show with Mike, that she also wants to keep her own show and that she's an interviewer. And she's gone to an attorney. And the attorney is the one who told me what management, or confirmed to me what management was asking her to do.
Her attorney?
Yes. And they apparently are going to do what they can to work out something where she stays on the air. And if not, then there may be a breach of contract argument involved here. And so many people are suing so many people on the radio now. It's
not me. I'm not suing
I have to get a law
anybody.
degree to cover this business now.
Did you talk to Mike
Ranieri?
Miller?
Yeah, to Mike Miller I did.
Have you talked to Mike Ranieri?
No, not today.
Oh, not today?
No.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, but about something else.
About something else?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. And
that's really interesting, because if that's what they want, then there's another hole opening up, and I wonder who they want to fill it. And I really don't know that. I've heard a couple of rumors.
Well, I've heard enough rumors about everything. That's why I finally put my phone on that message. That's a legitimate call I made, because I've had more phone calls at home about what's going on, and I have no idea what's going on anymore. You know more than I do.
I don't know. You must know something that you can give me a hint about here that I'm missing. There's another piece to the puzzle.
Well, you heard about Rantel coming over here.
You told me that. No, the new rumor is, and this is a rumor, like I haven't written about it. I usually
You don't print rumors.
I only print a rumor if it's really well-founded, and I have a real good feeling that it's
and that
probably
hasn't
true.
happened too often.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Usually the ones, I don't think I've been wrong on a rumor, or maybe I haven't predicted the exact outcome, but it's been something that's very similar, if not. And I'll say it's speculation.
What's the speculation? What's the hot rumor?
Oh, I just heard a rumor today that Al Rantel may possibly be coming to IOD if Sandy leaves, and maybe they'll trade places in effect. Maybe not the same shifts. Boy, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Now, that's a rumor.
I heard that we were trading 2 people here to the New York Yankees, because we carry their games, for a future draft choice. And these are 2 on-the-air people. There's enough rumors going around. I'll tell you, some of the rumors I've heard have been incredible. But you think all this is good for radio here?
I think that as long as people are doing changes in the right direction, that's what makes me worry. You know, from a couple of the rumors that I've heard that could replace whatever slot Sandy has been in, it just seems ridiculous to me, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
The problem that a lot of people have, like this Rantel-Payton thing we just discussed, like I said, I just heard that tonight.
Yeah.
And both of them have contracts, and that's really a problem now. A lot of people are afraid to talk to or to hire anybody with contracts.
Yeah, that's true.
Or to even say, come work for me in 6 months. That's what happened with Herman and McBean. They had a 4-month non-compete with She before they would go to their new job at GTR. They thought that just simply by being off the air that was enough. But apparently, according to She, and I guess the judge is going to be one to decide, the fact that they were hired by, got some payment by WGTR, and that WGTR used their name, I think, in some national advertising or to attract, to say, these guys are coming in, this is what we've got.
Oh, really?
That's what they're...
Boy, this town is just going crazy, and a lot of movement on the air. A lot of, starting with Rogers going in midday, and now Major coming in.
That's going to be interesting for INC.
Yeah, and Major, I haven't heard him that much. I know he does.
I've been listening
he does
to
a Haitian show, right? Does he do a Haitian show? Plays Haitian music?
Today he put out calls he would only open up the board to people from outside the United States.
Outside the United States?
And outside of the Bahamas. I don't think anybody called.
Well, they can't hear him outside the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Well, that's safe. That is safe. Anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to open up the phones tonight, too, so don't go away. We have one opening on the board, and it's in Broward County at 524-9463. And if you're on hold, don't panic. We will get to you just as quickly as we can. But I do want to talk to her for a few minutes, about my business.
How do you feel?
I feel physically?
No.
Mentally?
Here.
Emotionally?
Yes.
Don't start. Don't start.
I'm going to do an interview now.
Well, you're a troublemaker.
Is everybody here worried?
No, I'll tell you why. I can't speak for everybody else, but I think that it depends on what kind of feeling you have about yourself. Mm-hmm. If you feel good about yourself, then my feeling is, hey, I'll do the best I can. I'll do what I was hired to do.
You've always been philosophical about that, and if you really feel that way, then that's the safest
and listen,
way to feel.
If they want to bounce me out of here tomorrow, it's their loss.
You'll get another job.
I'll get another job. I've gotten another job before. I'll get another job again. I'd like to stay here because I think that this station needs me.
I think so too.
I really do.
Agree.
And
I think the station
that's my
needs
perception.
Steve Kane too, or someone like that.
Huh?
I said I think the station needs Steve Kane or someone like that. And I think that's
and I think
one of the smartest moves they ever made.
I think they realize that. It's everything is so subjective in radio anyway. We all have our likes and dislikes, and everybody in this business feels very strongly about things. There's no middle ground. They really feel strongly about everything as far as their listening goes. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard. That's why I enjoy talking to you, because you seem to be able to be a little objective.
I try.
Yeah. And like talking with Jicka, Jicka is like, boy, I see him at the track, and it's the same with the horses. He likes a horse. You couldn't talk him off that horse for $1 million. Yeah. I mean, you could say, look, that horse is lying down there dead, and he would still say that horse is going to win. And I'm not that set in my ways. The only thing that I have to do is to never forget, and I think everybody in this business, because this is a tough business.
Yeah, it sure
is not to forget what you're here for, how good you are. In other words, it's a two-way street. They need you, and you need them.
But sometimes it's not as much. I've heard you say this before, and you also said at the time that you didn't think you were good, which we debated about on and off the air last time. But aside from your modesty, I think it's not as much how good you are. That's usually the case, and how good your ratings are. But there's a lot of other factors that enter in, too. Whether somebody better is coming along.
I suppose. And what's better? But no, I've never thought of myself as a great talent. But I think of myself, I think my strongest suit is the fact that I'm, whatever I am, that's what I am. I don't do anything.
You're a good talker.
I'm a good talker. I like to talk. I grew up talking. We used to all sit around the kitchen table. My mother, my dad, my cousin Fred, my brother, my friend Bill Dobbs. My sister would come over from across the street with her husband and her 2 kids, and we'd all fill up the kitchen. And you know who was the best talker? Who always got the most laughs? Me.
Yes, yeah.
Always. And I always loved it. And when I was a disc jockey, 15 years, I told this story the other night. National program director for Westinghouse. We're walking out of the WIOD in Chicago. And he put his arm around me. He says, Calder, you could make it all the way in this business if you just learn to keep your mouth shut. And then I wind up in talk radio, and I can talk all I want. So it's like heaven. And I'm doing all the talking here. You see, that's not right.
No, it's not. It's similar to your dismissal, if that's what it was, from KAT. You're just too funny for them over there.
That was a bizarre story. I'm telling you, there's enough stories, because I wanted to get off the Late Show so bad.
Yeah, and here you are.
That I went, well, that's just a set of circumstances, but I mean, I would have done anything. I would have played Chinese music just to get off that station, because I had 3.5 years of doing that show.
At INC.
At INC, and I hated it. I'm like a zombie. I can't adjust to these hours. I just can't do it.
Is it any better getting off at 3 a.m.? Or
a lot better, because I don't take a nap before I come to work. I used to take a nap before I go to work. At like 10 o'clock, 10:30, because I live close to the station anyway. And I would walk in, I'd be a zombie. And I had to follow Neil Rogers.
Oh, that's true.
Now, think about that. How would you like to have to follow that nightmare every night at midnight? And he'd stay over, hang around, just beg to be on my show. Anyway, it's 11:21. We're going to... 11:21, and he doesn't know the hotline either, so he just has to join in like the rest of the people. 11:21 at 610 WIOD. My guest is Linda Thornton, the radio writer for the Miami Herald. I am Bill Calder. We're going to take our first break, and I think what we'll do, rather than just sit here and chew the fat and make everybody wait, we'll combine it tonight, and we'll get the most miles out of it. We'll take a couple of calls, talk about whatever they have to say, and something comes to mind that we want to talk about. Good idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
If your yard size is large and it's WIOD.
Okay, it's 11:24. Here's the deal. The numbers are 751-9463. That's the number in Dade. 751-9463. Broward is 524-9463. And we have 2 toll-free Palm Beach lines. If you live in Boca or Del Rey, it's 278-9463. And if you live in Palm Beach, It's 655-9463. And we're going to take some calls. A lot of people have been holding on for a long time. Let's go to Bill in Boynton and say hello, Bill, and welcome to WIOD's fabulous nighttime show and its guest, Linda Thornton. We have an opening in Boynton and Delray. Let's go to Richard in North Miami. He's holding on, right, Richard?
Yeah, good evening, Bill.
Okay, say hi to Linda.
Hello, Linda.
Hi, Richard.
Very interesting that what took place at the station did take place. And you wrote up a story a few months ago concerning Bill.
About
what's
what was
happening
coming.
next.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what's happening next now.
Yeah, there's still, like I said, one piece in the puzzle to be filled.
I would say Rantella's coming over. I don't know.
Well, he's got a contract, though. That's something.
Yeah, but isn't it coming up in August?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know when his contract runs out.
That is so bizarre.
I think that Mike in the afternoon should just take his pay and just lay back and see what happens, because if they don't make it, then they're going to have somebody to fall back on. You look at what happened to what's his name, Baby Lee James. He only lasted 4 months.
Who, Lee Baby Sims?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a different story altogether, though.
Yeah, but I think the format is changing to where it's going to what the other stations are talking about, and if you don't want to talk what the person on the radio wants to talk about, then you don't get on, or they hang up on you.
You mean that it's getting less issue-oriented, more toward an entertainment type thing?
I wouldn't say it's entertainment. If you take Majors the other night when it was announced about Getz, he was playing machine gun music and screaming, "Bernie, go get him," and give him a bigger gun and more bullets and turn him loose on the subway again.
Yeah.
It was handled on the station today, which was handled in a proper manner, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't handled, like.
Well, a lot of people like that type of radio, though. It's being proven more and more, especially here.
There's a lot of people who don't like that type of radio.
That's right, and that's those that don't like the type of radio. There are other stations. Previously, IOD was pretty much the most reliable one in that area as far as being safe and more conservative.
Comfortable.
But now with Kane coming, and I don't know who else is coming, if anybody.
I don't know Kane as far as his style, but I've got the idea just from listening to everybody try to put him up. When it was announced he was coming over, they were saying, "Yeah, hooray, he's coming over," but they really didn't agree with his style.
Yeah, Kane's gone through some changes. I used to always describe him as entertaining, if somewhat, not always somewhat, but sometimes contrived. I mean, a lot of times with Kane, he'll get on there and talk about something, and occasionally I don't really know that that's something he really believes as much as maybe he's just having a good time with it, which isn't bad. It's just a different type of radio. Rogers and Major, while they're very different, often I think that the issues that they tackle are those that they really feel strongly toward, if you know what I mean. Kane is like them, though, in the way that he's entertaining, light entertaining, and occasionally he gets riled up, and he's mellowed out a lot toward the end there at NWS, but now when he comes back against Major and Rantel, I have a feeling he'll spice it up a bit. That's my feeling.
Then you're changing to that format, which is...
Well, they still have Sandy Payton, and they still have... That's about it.
Do you remember the time that Sandy... Do you remember the time Sandy took off right around Easter? She was gone for 3 days. I've often said that right there, something happened, and there was a change, because you could hear it in her voice. Nothing was said, but I felt that there was a change right there, and then more or less like the management said, "Listen, think about it. Things are changing, and she's got to do something." I've often felt that way. As far as what Bill is saying, or the position Bill is in now, they gave it an upbeat when they announced it, and I think Bill is where he is, because in the afternoon I didn't really listen to him. I thought he was kind of laid back, a little too laid back to me in the afternoon. He's better in the position he's in now. But I've often felt that at that time, when Sandy took that time off, something was happening.
There was a lot of speculation at that time that she wouldn't be back, but I didn't write that because I had been assured as much as I could at that time that she would be back at least on Monday, so that's why I held out on that.
Well, she
did turn out to come back.
Vacation, right?
Excuse me?
She had to, because Bill was taking his vacation, more or less.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I got to tell you, I was just sitting here thinking, listening to you and Linda talking. The audience is loving this, and this is what South Florida is all about. What we're doing right here, right now, is typical of what really gets the audience going. They enjoy this kind of stuff.
Bill?
What?
You had a show a couple of weeks ago, and you started talking about about at night, you ramble on about anything. You start talking about who do you take care of first, producers, then it was, I think it was sponsors, then it was the people you work with, then it was the audience. Then where does Bill come in on that? Is he 5 or is he just nothing?
Well, I didn't say it quite that way because.
Well, I don't remember.
I said you had to. First, the people you have to please is management.
Oh, okay, right.
Then you have to, if you're smart, you please the people you work with, because it's no fun working where nobody likes you.
Or you're rubbing against the grain.
Yeah, it's a no-win situation because eventually it'll blow up. Yeah. But I said the audience comes in last, and that's true.
Yeah, but I think that we come in first. Because
I think you should come in first,
if we didn't listen, if we didn't take the time out in our days to listen, then you wouldn't have the time to put on the show.
Hey, listen, I agree. I'm just telling you, in my opinion, the way it is. I'm not saying I think that's good, because you're right. I never even mentioned myself. And, in fact, somebody called me at home and said something to the effect, aren't you worried that you might say the wrong thing tonight and get fired? Think about that.
Hey, Bill.
That's a hell of a way to walk into a show thinking, gee, I wonder if I say the wrong thing, I'll rub somebody wrong. Like our vice president, general manager, is out of town. And what if he came back in town tonight and he's driving from the airport right now, listening to this show? What a nice welcome home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bill, you know...
And you know who's going to take the rap for me? For that, sir?
Who?
Not you, Richard. Me.
Well, all right, listen. Just like I was talking to Mike the other day, and he told me about a morality clause, which I wasn't aware of, that you all have it, concerning...
A morality clause?
What's that, Bill?
What?
Well, don't ask
I'm
me.
asking Bill. I don't know.
Well, wait a minute. Mike said there was something in a contract, like the woman up in Boston that's pregnant. You carried the story about her. And I asked Mike if it was a racial issue. He said no, it was a morality clause that she could be kicked off of the air because she'd done something that
the moral turpitude clause. Yeah,
whatever you want to call
if you bring shame on the station, I think they can can you and get away with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like I was talking to Bill earlier, who was answering the phone, and I told him, well, I thought when he came along, he was your replacement. He said, no, I don't think that.
Well, he might be.
Well, I would say yes.
Well, you seem to. You have a lot of. You're joining the rumor thing here tonight. Listen, I got to go. Listen, Richard. I got to go. I got an update now. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Keep smiling and keep your fingers crossed.
I will.
And hope everything that turns out the way you'd like it have it turned out.
We control the radio station. The management doesn't. The audience does.
Well, in a way, you're right.
Partially.
In a way, you're right. Partially, anyway. All right. Listen. Thank you, Richard. Okay. Listen. We're going to take a break here. We'll come right back with Linda and your calls. And don't panic now.
Good evening. I'm Claudette Thomas with the 11:30 update from the WIOD News Center. These are some of the stories we're following for you this hour. A Southridge Senior High School student shot Friday has died. A federal indictment unsealed today names 8 people in a major crack and cocaine ring. Jackson Memorial Hospital's incoming president has returned a controversial check. Broward detectives move closer to bringing an alleged murderer back to South Florida, and the vice president tours South Florida and names a street after the president. Details on these and other stories at 12 o'clock on WIOD, giving you frequent news, weather, and traffic updates. I'm Claudette Thomas.
610 WIOD.
Okay, we're
Radio,
back.
there are some other professions that have non-compete clauses, but in most cases, if you get fired after a month, they're not going to tell you, don't go work for the people across the street for 6 months. That's the problem, is there's so much legal binding here and there, and it gets really hard.
Well, I guess the only difference that you and I have is that if someone were to produce and do the job, that it would not be an issue to begin with.
No, that I agree with. In most cases, if somebody's being replaced by somebody else, in most cases it's because they didn't, either somebody else that's coming in is better or they're not performing as well, and that is usually the case.
I would never tell you, honestly, you guys, I would never sit here and tell you that I think that someone on another station is better, worse, or indifferent. I would only tell you that when someone tells me or makes me aware of the ratings or the people who are paying attention, that all of a sudden that does not necessarily mean that they're doing a better job, that they're a better host or a more observant or more intelligent. It means to me that the people who are paying for the ads the people who are bringing bottom line bucks down to the station are paying attention.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that if it does happen, that the management should be fair about it.
Well, I think that the management is being fair in the fact that that it's their choice. Well, they are the management. There's nobody saying that if Mike Miller owned 51% of the station or Sandy Payton owned 51% of the station, that's their choice. If they don't, they've got to be aware of the arena that they play in.
The arrangement that's been worked out for Miller, as far as I understand, is fair. I mean, as fair as you want to be for the fact that he's been taken off the air. But beyond that, I'm just wondering about Sandy Payton. If she's supposed to be a talk host and doubling her up with Mike Ranieri, I can understand her frustrations about that.
Oh, I can definitely understand her frustrations, but there's an old saying, you know, if you run with the big dogs, you have to urinate with the big dogs. I mean, if you're going to play in that arena, be aware of where you're playing. Don't sit there and say, oh, my God, all of a sudden, this is a great shock to me. Either you produce or you move on.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell everybody that's listening to take your advice.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Notice I didn't hog in on that either.
Yeah, you're being very
I'm
quiet.
being a good host. Let's go to Jay in West Kendall.
Good evening, Bill, and good evening, Linda.
Hello.
First of all, Linda, let me ask you this about a former talk show host, Alan Burke.
Yes.
Did he resign, or was he fired, or what?
No, he was fired.
He was?
Yes. That was a while ago.
Yeah, that's quite a while ago.
I haven't talked to him for several months. I had heard he might be working at a Palm Beach station. Do you know anything about that, Phil? I guess not.
You know, I've realized a number of things that began happening down here with the talk in the talk market, especially since GBS became no longer, GBS and went over to AWS.
That's right.
Number one, I feel that the quality of talk show hosts that either remained or that were brought in deteriorated, and a lot of the listeners began to get very, very, very uptight. Okay? Now, I know the FCC has its anti-profanity laws or rulings or whatever have you.
Something like that, yes.
But a lot of people called up, especially today I heard some, and they were really spewing it out. They weren't caring about FCC or Ronald Reagan or whoever.
No, I heard that. That wasn't so bad.
What, on Miller's show?
Well, yeah. I mean, they were just, they were really beginning to break the shell and let go.
Well, those days are gone forever, sir, when you're going to get those kind of words bleeped out, because it just, the ball game has changed. I mean...
Besides, the FCC hasn't said what's not accepted on the air. It's very vague, and no, it has changed quite a bit. It's at least as much as you hear on TV, maybe less. As far as language.
Wait a minute, were you offended by that, Jay?
No. As a matter of fact, I was relieved by it.
What do you mean by the hosts that are here have deteriorated? Give me one example.
Well, on GBS, when they died out, they lost David Gold.
Yeah.
And, many of the ones that they lost, I felt as though they got rid of many quality hosts. Although Steve Kane, I hate the guy. He was a big seller.
Well, he's coming here.
That turned me off when I first heard it. He makes a lot of people angry, and I suppose that's why a lot of people listen to him, so they can get stirred up, or I don't know, whatever. But
it's funny, I've listened to Kane so many times, and he has almost never made me angry.
No, it's like I said,
and he's taken some real shots at me, but he's never... Now, Tom Leykis made me angry because he took a shot at me and really got to me. I don't know why, because I'm really a super sensitive person. But I never really got upset at Steve.
You see, Kane and...
The way he said it, I think.
Yeah, I always took Steve as...
I think it'll be real interesting to see what Kane's like after these months off and now with this new competition and at a new station. That's going to be real interesting.
The whole thing is going to be interesting. As a matter of fact, you're in for some of the most exciting days in your life, Jay. Do you realize that?
Well, I don't think
maybe not if I wanted the kind of radio.
I don't think I'm even going to allow myself to get excited about it.
No, don't get too excited. No, because sometimes anticipation is better.
Find what you enjoy.
You see,
turn the dial.
Exactly.
By the way, and also about Kathy McCallum, did they fire her too?
Yes.
Sheesh. I mean, what's getting into the market down here?
Did you like her?
Yeah, I love the lady. I mean, very relaxed, very intelligent.
See how subjective it is?
She had you see, what the people want, what the members of the community want, they're not getting.
Well,
No,
wait a
that's
minute.
not
That's
true.
not true. Go. I'm sorry.
No. Your ratings,
Bill, you can talk.
your ratings that you get, I'm sure, is not fully representative of the society.
Well, nothing's perfect, and that's the only thing we've got to work with. But there's more than ratings. I mean, there's a lot of things as far as listeners' response, the way the listeners act toward the hosts on the air, the type of listeners that they attract. I think the type of talk hosts that you seem to like are conservative, kind of right-wing.
I like an equal balance, and it seems to be tilting more and more to the liberal party.
I like an equal balance, too, but sometimes that gets to be, depending on how you present it, pretty dry.
Well, that is true. That is true, but...
Yeah, but look at it this way. Look how long talk radio's been around. And listen, you know, how many times can you go over the same territory?
I mean, you need to take a stand somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I do believe that the hosts themselves are responsible for the variety and the mixing up of their programming.
Well, that's what I'm going to do right now, because I got to move along. But thank you for the call, Jay.
Okay, then.
All right, babe.
Good segue.
11:40, huh?
I said it was a good segue.
11:44. Let's go to line 3. We have a break? No, not yet. Yes? Well, wait a minute. We'll take one more. Let's take Juan in Miami.
Yeah, hi.
How you doing?
Hi.
Welcome to 610 WIOD. Do you know the name of the show?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
What is it? Wait a minute. What is it?
I wanted to ask Linda about the new station, and it's supposed to debut this summer on the FM dial 95.7, I think it is.
Right. They just changed their call letters to WXDJ. I don't know if that means they're going to hire all the ex-DJs that are, that'd be nice. A lot of people looking for a job. That station is such a perplexity to me, because when they first announced they were going to be on the air, they said they were going to be on the air by May. What I heard at that time, and this was, again, just speculation, is that it was going to be an oldies syndicated format with a live morning show. But now, to be honest with you, I just don't know. There's been so many different things going around, and the owner isn't talking about the format. He doesn't look close to having it on yet. I don't know if it'll be on this summer or not.
Okay.
95.7, though.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks for the call. That was good and quick. It's 11:45 at 610 WIOD. That opens a line in... No, it doesn't either. We do have an opening in Boca, 278-9463. We're talking with the mother of four to Carlos. Carlos is calling from Hollywood.
Hi, Bill, Linda.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Bill, I was wondering, was it you that had Bob Rich from WGTR a few months on your show a few months ago?
Yes, I did. I had him on Christmas Eve, I believe it was.
Yeah, and
I had him and Sullivan on.
Right, I believe. Yeah, I don't remember who the other fellow was, but I remember speaking to Bob Rich, and I mentioned to him when he let it out of the bag, a little bit, that Herman and McBean might be coming over there, that I didn't think too much of him to begin with, and I just wanted to let you know I still don't. I think GTR is better off without him.
Well, they're going to get him back. I mean, even if they wait.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't. Linda, what have their ratings been since they've been on? Do you know if there's been any increase or what?
The first book was not so great. It was very slight. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't remember exactly the numbers. I don't know whether they were on that whole time. They came in February, and I think the book started in late January, so there were a couple of weeks without them.
Oh, but you didn't give me that benefit
I did,
of that.
too.
Oh, okay.
In the one story, not the... No, that was it. But the whole station actually didn't do as well as a lot of people had thought. All three of the AOR stations are leveling it out pretty much at a 2-share or a 3-share right now.
Do you project? Would you have any projections for that particular part of the market?
Scenario? I think for right now, we're not going to see any one of them, this is my prediction, soar much higher because basically the shift has changed. Now a lot of people, as far as that age group, are listening to Y100, Power 96.
Okay, do you think the fact that we had all of a sudden we have 3 AOR stations going after it, do you think that actually pushed some people over to
well, if anything,
Y100?
it just divided up the pie because she had that all to themselves.
Well, where did Y100 get that big increase?
Y100 had a huge audience, and then, again, every time you get the competitors coming in and hitting against you, everybody kind of scatters for a while, and then they start to build back up again. I think she's longevity in the market is going to be something good. They need another good morning show. They've got something going now. I don't know if it's permanent, and I really haven't listened to it that much.
Yeah.
But
when's Greg Budell start?
He started Tuesday.
Oh, he's on the air now.
He started yesterday morning on 1194.
Interesting. Go ahead, Carlos.
Thank you. But the reason why I told Bob Rich I didn't particularly like them was because, first of all, I didn't think they were very funny. And then, second of all...
Well, first of all, you don't call up the general manager and tell him that somebody's not funny.
You can when you're on the phone and you don't have to worry about your job. But
That's true, but it was on my show. And notice what happened after that.
Well,
you know who wound up late at night? And I'm going to tell you right now, Carlos, it's your fault.
I'm sorry, Bill, but I had to say...
You had to call it like you saw it, right?
That's it, exactly. But if you listen to GTR now and you compare them to She, they are almost identical to what She was before they had competition. Unrisky, you know, they were playing all the stuff that they knew would do good. You know, the top 40 rock type stuff.
Yeah.
Not like Y100, but top 40 rock, like MTV. If you were watching MTV and you'd watch She, it was like the same thing.
Yeah, and GTR, you're saying, is more like that.
And now it's turning towards that, and you've seen that turn when Herman and McBean got there. And, you know, I'm not into that kind of stuff.
Well, that's why Zeta is kind of on the other end. They play more of the top 40 type.
Exactly.
And mixed in with their rock and roll.
And that's what I've been listening to. And
this is not a rock and roll town, anyway. How many rock and roll great acts come to this town every year? It's not a right. It's a Lionel Richie. Wait a minute, it's a Lionel Richie town. I really believe that.
No, there is a lot of good rock bands that
we're getting good top name rock bands, but the point is that we're still not getting what a lot of the other major cities are.
Exactly.
No, like it was hard to get the Eagles down here when they were together.
I just read a Sunday paper from St. Louis, and the entertainment section in St. Louis would knock your socks off. I mean, the acts that come in here every week, week in and week out.
We're always going to have a problem down here being at the end of the world and the other, you know, this.
Well,
that's probably part of it. That's although I don't know.
That is part of it. And then the other hand is that this is a very conservative market. You see it a lot in radio and the taste of the people. They go toward the very mass appeal, top 40 type stuff. At least right now, that's what's happening.
Yeah. Okay, listen, Carlos. Anybody else you want to get in trouble?
No, but speaking of rubbing the grain the wrong way, your friend Neil gave you a good boost for your show tonight. So.
Oh, did he mention it?
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he said he was going to be listening. He'd probably even call.
Well, if he can get in.
Yeah, you seem to have a lot of callers. Well, anyway, you guys have a good night, okay?
Okay, thanks for the call, Carlos.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Carlos, how old are you?
I'm 24.
24,
okay.
Oh,
I wanted to mention
that
Neil has his faults, but he's the reason why I listen to talk radio now.
I think you share that with a lot of people your age, too.
And I'll tell you another thing. You know how I found him was through WIOD Sports Talk, because they used to be on at the same time. And I just was listening to them, and a commercial came on. I switched over, and I caught him.
Interesting, yeah.
And, you know, I always thought that talk shows were like for Century Village people.
Yeah.
And then I heard Neil, and I started listening more.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And it turns out that Century Village people can be fun, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. There are some good ones. There are some witty ones. I don't deny that.
Yeah. But, all right, listen, take care. I got to run, Carlos.
Okay, take care.
Take care. All right, young demographics. Let's go to Carrie in Pompano Beach. You're on with Linda Thornton.
Hello. Good evening. I should say good morning almost. I wanted to make a comment first, and I wanted to ask Ms. Thornton a question.
Okay.
My comment is that I'm very disappointed at the decision of management to take Mike Miller off the air. I think he is like Bill. He's a gentleman. Whether he agrees or disagrees with people that are on or topics, he at least he was a gentleman, and I'm just sorry that they've decided to take him off. I'm one of many, I'm sure. Now, my question, Ms. Thornton, is I tuned in and did I hear Ms. Thornton say that the station needs Steve Kane?
That the station needs Steve Kane? Yes, I said Steve Kane or someone like him, yes.
Well, I disagree with you because I think they're lowering their values. I think they should try to elevate their values rather than lower them.
I know what you mean, but see, there's hosts that you like, and then there's hosts like Kane and that type, and they never really had someone like that before. Bill Calder is humorous, but in a different kind of a way. I think that they needed someone spicy in the afternoons is basically it.
Well, I think the type of spice that you may be referring to, I think we could do very well without.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the call, Carrie. And it's 11:55. Ralph and Kendall next. Okay, Ralph?
Hi, how you doing?
Welcome to 610 WIOD, and my guest, Linda Thornton, welcomes you too.
Well, that's great. And I've been into broadcasting, as I've told you, Bill, for a number of years, and got out. And since then, I've just seen really a major scramble in this town, like I don't think I've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's getting big time, and that's what comes with it, or bigger time. As the city grows and the stations keep going on, and we've got 43 stations in Dade and Broward County alone.
Yeah. It is.
There's a lot of places to jump to.
That's true. But, you know, the thing that I've noticed is everybody's going into these different directions and saying, well, let's try this format, let's try that. And one thing that I see that really lacks in this town as far as the FM stations go, and that is a morning show that really has some impact.
As far as what? What kind of impact?
Well, there's not really that much going on between the stations. If you listen to the morning shows, I don't see anything that really grabs a listener anymore. We had something a while back, and I don't see it there anymore. I'm spoiled. I grew up in New York, so, you know, I had the Don Imuses, and, you know, that kind of
we don't have that, and we've never had that.
We've never had, that's true, we've never had exactly that. Or even close to it, really. And I think that's something that this town is just crying for.
Well, I think that a lot of the broadcasters would agree that this town is so conservative as when it comes to management as a whole that a lot of people are afraid to try anything new. And like Bill said before, the first person you play to is management. That's not necessarily something that you want, but it's just the truth.
Oh, I believe it. I believe you do.
You know, I worked at a radio
station.
Few
personalities that will, you know, do exactly what they want to do without fearing of at least getting reprimanded after the show.
You know, I worked at a radio station where we had a very, very good morning man for several years.
Where was that?
Well, who?
Well, that was Captain John Forsythe from QAM.
Yeah, I remember him.
Okay, and I remember, you know, there were times where, you know, my GM would sit there and, you know, hide under the table.
Yeah. Those days were crazy, too, because there was 2 radio stations when it came to rock and roll, and I mean, or pop, and they were... I said at the time there was only the 2 radio stations, and those DJs were out doing 1,000 things all day long. They were very visible. That was a different era.
Yeah.
Yeah, but things have changed now, too.
You know, the thing is that...
The audience is fragmented so much, too. You're never going to get that big a group of people, I think, ever in one...
At times, QAM had a 54 share.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, it was...
too much competition.
It was incredible.
I wish that there was more diversity in FM morning programming.
Yeah, sometimes I get a little tired of the yucks myself. I have to tune around a lot in the morning.
You know,
positively. All right, listen, I hate to do this. Ralph, you want to hold on, or you want me to carry over?
I'll be glad to hold on.
Okay. All right, and the rest of you hold on, too. We have one opening in Broward now, 524-9463. My guest is Linda Thornton. She's the radio writer for the Herald. We're talking about radio and all the changes and all the crazy things that go on in it and why people are in it and why people are writing about it and why people... continue to allow themselves to be subjected to this kind of almost bordering on insanity. But that's, you know, there's not that many jobs around. Take care. Hang in there. We have to have you with us, Laura. And it's nice to have you folks with us, too, I might add.
To get in touch, dial 751-WIOD in Dade, 524-WIOD in Broward, or 655-278-WIOD in the Palm Beaches. Other areas can always call collect. Now, here's Bill Calder.
Okay, I just looked at the board and I realized we have 7 men on hold. Now, I wonder if it was a male writer, if we would have 7 females on hold. It's true, 7. Ralph, Jay, Robert, Jack, John, and Phil. I mean, they're all guys.
Man, this isn't even Dateline.
Anyway, my guest, good evening and welcome. It's 12:07, and my guest is Linda Thornton. She's the radio writer for the Herald. Everybody reads her. Everybody waits for Wednesday. We even have to go through all the that garbage that they put in the paper on Wednesday and go past the car review, and then we go too far, and we're at Action Line. We have to turn back the page to read Linda and find out what the heck is going on in radio. And people are interested in it in this market.
They are.
They really are. They love to talk about it. They love to gossip. They love the soap operas. And it really is, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Close.
And people, like you said, even though they may hate certain changes, boy, does it make the phones light up.
It sure does. And if I don't do my job here, well, a lot of people are going to be unhappy. We're finishing off Ralph here. Ralph?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
How old are you, Ralph?
I'm 30.
30, okay.
Yeah.
Just making a point here. Go ahead.
Started out in radio at age 15.
Okay.
And as I was saying, the morning shows, they do, they do a job, but they're just not up to par. That I think that this town really, has the potential of hiring somebody that could, just knock the socks off of just about anybody. Also,
you wait a minute. You agree with him?
I think that, like I said before, I enjoy a humorous morning show, but I get a little tired of the yucks. I'd rather have them do less jokes and have them be funnier and more substantial than just a joke every minute. That's, I think, a problem with a lot of the FM morning shows.
You get the poor jokes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, weed it out. There's talent out there, and it doesn't have to come from New York.
Yeah, but remember this: if every morning show person, every FM morning show person was listening right now, they would all think you're crazy. They all
Talk
think
about
they're
somebody else.
Yeah, they think they're doing they love it.
Yeah.
And their managers think they're great, and their audience thinks they're fantastic. They love them.
Well,
they're going to say, "Who the hell is Ralph? What does he know?"
That's true, Bill.
It's true.
You're always going to have somebody, no matter how good or how bad you are, you're always going to have somebody who's